Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. I hope you're all having a lovely week. As always, if you like the channel and you want more content like this, please do subscribe. Please also consider hitting the notification bell. That means you'll get notified of new videos as and when they come out. I've actually had 1,400 subscribers who've clicked that bell already, and I've never even mentioned the notification bell before, so shout out to you guys. I've had a few comments recently though from subscribers who are asking why there hasn't been as much Shaun Attwood content recently, asking if things have changed, etc. And I thought I'd do a quick video just to bring people up to date. It's a known fact that Mr. Attwood has stated that he's commencing legal action for defamation against various channels, although he has not named the channels. His right hand girl Callie Diamond has said that it would include this channel and a few others, although again this has not been confirmed specifically by Mr. Attwood himself. It's also a fact that key players in the #daddygate story have been fighting amongst themselves. There are multiple little offshoots and there is sniping going on back and forth, everybody trying to land a headshot on everybody else, people getting caught between loyalty and reality. To a newcomer to the scene, this is all going to sound very confusing and childish and probably very sad. It's all part of the fun though. Some of these issues have threatened to cause problems with corroboration in regards to evidence in the daddygate timeline, but the main point of daddygate does still stand, and that is that explicit photos were taken in Shaun Attwood's home of one of his podcast guests, Callie, who was on his show discussing how she was drugged, abused and trafficked, and she was only living in his house because she was homeless. These explicit photos were put on an active prostitution website where they remained for weeks undiscovered, and a video was recorded by Shaun Attwood showing that same podcast guest Callie performing certain acts on him, which were later confirmed by Mr. Attwood to be recreating past abuse that Callie had suffered.
I took advantage of a trafficked vulnerable person reenacting this, and it made him relive it, and it probably traumatized that person. I completely agree with that. Shouldn't have done it, and they are 100% right about that.
So these facts remain intact. They are facts. Mr. Attwood has not disputed those facts, as they are indisputable. So they do remain intact, and we can move forward with that knowledge, even if the landscape of daddygate has slightly changed. I think it is worth pointing out that this channel did release a video on Shaun Attwood 2 weeks ago, but obviously since he went on True Geordie, he has gone pretty quiet as it relates to daddygate anyway. He stopped doing completely moronic things basically. He stopped doing things that justify a whole video. He's not been accusing people of wanting to engage in intercourse with himself and Callie. We've not been getting photographs of him and Callie licking each other's tongues. He also hasn't recorded any more videos telling people that they're going to be lawsuited, which is a word that he made up. But there are still a couple of things here and there that haven't yet been mentioned that I'm going to put into this video just to update people, because I know people are hungry for Shaun Attwood content. Now, apologies in advance if it's a little bit disjointed. I am going to try and rattle through them as concisely as possible. I do also want to point out that the information in this video, as with all my videos, is only being put forward because I believe it's in the public interest, and I'll get into that a little bit more later on. But first things first, we have seen several statements from Mr. Attwood confirming that he has commenced expensive legal action. Now, presumably Mr. Attwood feels he's suffered some kind of damage through the response to the daddygate video and through people questioning his backstory, which I find strange because he clearly enjoys the publicity. In one breath he's engaging in sarcastic banter with Wheezy of the What Is Truth podcast, saying that he misses Wheezy's sexy voice, and that was as recently as the Marvin Herbert livestream. And then in the next breath he's allegedly threatening to target Wheezy's family assets in a defamation case. So which is it? Does he miss Wheezy's sexy voice, or is he being defamed by Wheezy's sexy voice? Mr. Attwood has also started attacking Wheezy's channel with copyright strikes in what I believe to be a misuse of the copyright strike system. This is something we've seen him do before. The copyright strike was used in this case to take down a video with over 50,000 views on it, and it was a video which contained criticism of Mr. Attwood. Another thing we saw recently was Mr. Attwood admitting that he underestimated the public blowback to the daddygate video. I think he has said this before, but he's reiterated it recently. And he now also says that he accepts that good people would be genuinely offended by his actions, meaning that he understands that a section of the public made up of good, honest people have genuinely been offended by what he put out into the public. This surprises me slightly because he has only just said on the True Geordie podcast that they were doing the sickest possible thing that they could think of to ensure that it got maximum attention.
And we thought, if we just go balls to the wall and do the sickest joke possible, and the only way we're going to fool the troll is if we send the content that is really sick, that she would think, they can't possibly be leaking this to me because this is just so sick.
Right.
So
surely he can't say that he underestimated the blowback or didn't realise at the time that good people would be offended if his intention was to release the sickest possible thing to ensure attention. And by the way, if you are a good person who was offended or disturbed by Mr. Attwood's video with Callie, please do make it known in the comments below, that would be very helpful. He's also been fond of announcing recently that the trolls, which is obviously his name for the people who don't buy his explanation about daddygate, so much for simply accepting that good people would be offended, eh? But he says that the trolls have only increased his viewing figures and improved his stats. Now I don't know what the stats are on his side, the full stats anyway, but obviously we can see that his subscribers have been going up and fast. He's made a big deal this year of celebrating 600,000 subscribers, and he made this post, which you can actually see, says that his channel is about ending the war on drugs and starting the war on pedos. He's replaced the letter O in the word pedos with a 0. I'm not sure why. It seems very strange to me. Maybe in order to circumvent YouTube's rules, or maybe for some other purpose that is above my head. I don't know, but I personally find it slightly curious that he would seek to get that word in there at all, let alone replace one of the letters. So I do find that strange. I hope it isn't defamatory for me to say that. But he obviously wants to get the message out loud and clear that his channel is about ending the war on drugs and starting a war on paedophiles. So first of all, when has Mr. Attwood produced any content or done any work to end the war against drugs, and what's his motivation for attaching himself to that message? We know he spent several years in prison, and part of his charges was that he was caught selling methamphetamine and engaging in threats and violence to ply that trade. I'm not sure that's what most people think of when they talk about ending the war on drugs. That's not usually the kind of thing people are trying to end. They're not looking to get violent methamphetamine dealers out of prison. And I speak as somebody who supports a total overhaul of drug law and the way drugs are classified and the way addiction is viewed in society. But when he says start the war on pedos, or ped zeros as he puts it, this is him once again elevating himself into a position at the head of some kind of child protection movement, of someone fighting to end child abuse. There's no other way that it can be taken. He's explicitly attaching his name to that message. Certainly it's a noble goal for a person to strive for, but this statement does obviously require scrutiny. Is Mr. Attwood actually doing what he says? Elevating yourself to this kind of position is guaranteed to bring extra scrutiny. I think people have a duty to scrutinise a person who puts themselves in that kind of position. And absolutely it means that there is a genuine public interest in the daddygate story, which has been my argument since the start. But I thought maybe he would lay off that kind of rhetoric based on the public reaction to the daddygate video, which was largely negative, but he's ploughing on ahead regardless by directly attaching that message to his celebratory 600,000 subscriber post. And I believe that that's a business decision because I don't see any evidence of him actually engaging in a war on paedophiles, unless he considers making graphic content to be fighting that war. There's content on his channel that involves discussing and accessing censored child porn websites on the dark web, and reading the kind of content that's on there, reading the words that are on there, and going through paedophile forums and reading posts that they've made. This is a large part of Mr. Attwood's most popular video series, The Darkest Net. And there are even photographs of presumably abused children whose faces are being used as profile pictures for users on those forums. And in Mr. Attwood's videos, those faces of those children are not even blurred out. I know I'm not alone when I say I find it beyond disturbing. I don't understand how these videos help fight a war on pedos, as he puts it. It seems to me that it's done to harvest views, and my god does it get views, sadly. Some of the live streams of the Darkest Net series, I've seen them nearing almost 100,000 viewers at once, which is incredible. And it seems to translate to new subscribers as well. The general brand of Shaun Attwood's channel, the idea that he's pushing, certainly is bringing in the subscribers. Only a week after he hit 600,000 subscribers, he hit 650,000 subscribers, so he gained 50,000 subscribers in a week and posted a celebratory message about that. And that is pretty good growth, let's be honest. He's also covering a lot of US politics and non-YouTube friendly content which is related to that, and then he's deleting those videos, so he's gathering subscribers that way as well. He's also been pushing his Patreon quite hard to coincide with this increase in subscribers, who, as I say, are receiving this message that he's starting the war on pedos. Needless to say, starting the war on pedos or ending the war against drugs is not mentioned anywhere on his Patreon page at all, which I suppose is a good thing, but it does suggest that he's not prepared to commit financially to these causes which he promotes as part of his brand and uses to garner subscriptions. It seems possible that many of these patrons may well have pledged money based on the message that Mr. Attwood is trying to convey on his channel, under a misguided notion that he's actually an activist. And I also note that he's selling Wildman t-shirts via his Patreon page as well. And in other news, we've had Mr. Attwood confirming that he puts out disinformation just to mess with the public on YouTube. For example, he's stated that the infamous Callie Diamond interview on the What Is Truth podcast was a prank. So well-known YouTube prankster Shaun Attwood has returned. I felt strongly that most of the Callie interview was a set-up by Mr. Attwood anyway, but it was nice to have it confirmed from the horse's mouth. Mr. Attwood has said that the whole thing was a set-up and the Callie interview was another prank, and Callie has confirmed that Mr. Attwood was in on it. He has also reiterated that all of the daddygate situation was a prank as well, with co-conspirators who he will not name. Speaking of Callie, we've also seen Mr. Attwood continuing to repeat the new line that she was not dressed as a child or a daddy's little girl in the daddygate video, which is what he initially said. He said it was a daddy's little girl outfit, now he's changing that story. He's continuing to repeat the new line that she was dressed as an adult milkmaid while she called him daddy and said she likes being a good girl. This is odd, as he was seen in a live stream chat saying, "Callie, were you hunting pedos? Is that why you were dressed that way?" Pretty strange thing to ask when he was there doing the filming. I mean, seriously, why would you ask that in the live chat when you were there doing the filming? It's actually very strange when you think about it. We've also seen more information that suggests Mr. Attwood accesses some of Callie's social media accounts and posts under her name, or at least that's what Callie has said. We can only go on information as it's given to us, and this information was provided by Callie herself, but she says this comment was wrote by Shaun. I've said before, based on what we know about their relationship, on top of all the naked photos and the fact that she was staying with him because she was homeless, and the fact that she allegedly had no money of her own, and the fact that she potentially tried to kill herself in his home, I just find it somewhat questionable that he's using her social media accounts, especially in a way that she does not appear to condone. I see no reason why he should have access to them. Callie is more than capable of making her own comments on social media without them being written for her by Shaun Attwood. Of course, it may be that she's given him full permission to access and use her social media accounts in whatever way he sees fit, but if that is the case, she's left that detail out of this message. We also got official comment from Mr. Attwood that he'd be providing his comments on the Wilfred Wong case in an upcoming podcast with John Wedger, of all people. Mr. Wong was a regular guest on Mr. Attwood's podcast, and he's currently in prison awaiting trial on charges relating to the alleged kidnapping of a child at knife point. Mr. Wong has pleaded not guilty to those charges. I am very interested to see what Mr. Attwood says regarding this, as we've already seen him make some comments on this case before, very, very early on, and we've also heard Callie make comments about it in her interview on the What Is Truth podcast. And finally, we had Marvin Herbert releasing a video in which he says he has evidence that Mr. Attwood was never in a maximum security prison in the USA, which is another thing that I find quite interesting. I'd really like to know more information about this, whether Marvin's actually seen real proof or whether it's just information that he's received.
But I've got some evidence that he was never in a max security. If he was in the max security, it was max security section of the county jail for one night, apparently I've been told, but he was never in a max security jail, right? He was always in the county jails, fighting his case, yeah, with his legal team that cost a fortune, and then he made a deal and then got out. What?
I was always under the impression that Mr. Attwood did serve time in a maximum security US prison, so I really would be interested to know what Marvin has seen regarding this, and hopefully he'll elaborate on that soon. I think Marvin does have an Ask Me Anything video coming up, so maybe somebody will ask him in that. It would be excellent to hear a bit more about that. Anyway folks, I'm going to leave that one here just in the interests of being as quick as possible with regards to this video. As I say, it was just a mishmash of information, just a little update to bring a few things together. There are some other bits and pieces here and there as well that I haven't managed to put in today. They can maybe go into another video down the line, but I will certainly keep you updated on any future developments that happen in relation to Shaun Attwood if they're in the public interest. As I say folks, if you're enjoying this channel, please do like the video just to let me know. It really does help. And please also subscribe if you're not already. I would just like to say, as always, many thanks to the people who contributed to this video and my other videos in so many different ways. Due to all the doxing attempts and other silly things that are going on at the moment, I'm not going to say too much more, but I do appreciate all of you. And a special thanks to everyone who's still listening. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you very much. So please let me know what you think in the comments. As I say, thank you very much for tuning in today folks. I will leave this one here. Take it easy and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Obviously looking back now, hindsight's 2020, is a bad plan.
Yeah, okay.